Hello and welcome to the Schedule and Check-in Appointments video. During this tutorial, you will learn how to schedule and check in appointments. Let's take a look at the topics that we're going to cover in this video. First, we'll review the different scheduler views and why each one is important. Next, you'll learn how to add an appointment from the day view, from list view, and from the resource view. Finally, you will learn how to check in appointments once the client arrives at your center. Okay, so we are currently in the Office section of Centerpiece, and to get to the scheduler, all you need to do is click on the Scheduler tab right here. Notice that we are currently looking at the scheduler for the Dallas location. Now, one of the first things that we're going to walk through is how to schedule an appointment. But before we do that, let's first review the different ways that you can view appointments in the scheduler. Remember from the Scheduler Overview video that there are several different ways you can view your scheduler. Right now I'm in the day view, which allows me to view appointments in their specific time slots. If I click this Display as List button, I still see my appointments, but they are displayed as a list rather than in their specific time slots. I'm going to go ahead and click here to close the task pane so that I have more viewable space. And in addition to viewing appointments in List View by day, you can also click on the Week List View icon to view your entire week's appointments, or you can view the entire month's appointments by clicking here. I'll scroll down and you can see the whole month. And while in week or month view, you can easily get back to the day view to see the appointments in their time slots by clicking on the date header right here. So I'll do that, and we're now looking at July 20th. I'll uncheck this Display as List checkbox, and I can see my appointments in their time slots. Okay, so lastly, if you're a center that uses resources, you can click on the Resource View icon and view your resources in their available time slots. All resource time slots that are colored are still available and can be reserved for an appointment. The time slots that are grayed out show you that the resource has been booked for an appointment. If I move my mouse over the gray block, I can see some of the appointment details. If your center uses a lot of resources, then we recommend using this view when scheduling your appointments. Okay, so we're going to walk through how to book an appointment through each of these three views: day view, list view, and resource view. It's up to you to decide which view works best for your center. Let's click back on the day view, and I'll click here on the Today link to be taken to the current day. As you can see, the day view is the easiest view to quickly book appointments by time slot. For example, if I wanted to book an appointment at 10 o'clock, all I have to do is click on the 10 o'clock time slot and the appointment form will open up with the appointment time already filled out for me. Notice that my appointment end time defaults to 11 o'clock, and that's because in the administration settings for the Dallas location, we set the appointment duration to be 1 hour. If you need help setting that up, please refer back to the Administration Settings Part 1 video. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill out this appointment form. The best workflow when filling out an appointment form is to first search for the client's file to make sure that they aren't already in the system. You'll want to make sure that you do this so that you don't create duplicate files in the system. So let's say that our example client's name is Tori Green. I'll enter in a few letters of her last name right here, and you can see that she isn't in the database. So at this point, I could click on the ellipsis button to create a new client file, but instead of creating a new client file right now, I'm going to instead wait until she shows up for her appointment because I don't want to create a client file in case she's a no-show. So let's go to the top of the form and walk through this. I'll first type in her name right here in the subject field. The next thing that I'm going to do is select the staff or volunteer who's going to be assigned to this appointment. I'm going to enter in a few letters of the staff's last name, and then I'll select it from the list. If the staff or volunteer isn't in the list, you can add a new staff or volunteer file by clicking here on the ellipsis button. Next, for the category, I'm going to go ahead and select ultrasound. And again, if you need to make any changes to the categories, just click right here on the ellipsis button. I'm going to go ahead and leave this checked that this is a client appointment and that it was scheduled as opposed to a walk-in. Okay, right here I'll enter a comment that she's an abortion-minded client, and I'm going to go ahead and enter in her LMP as well. Next, you'll see the mobile phone number, the client consents to text message checkbox, and the date of birth field. If we had selected an existing client file, these fields would be autofilled based on the values in the client file. But since this is a new client, we're going to go ahead and enter that information in. So I'll first enter in a phone number right here. Then we'll check that Tori does consent to text reminders. And then I'm going to go ahead and enter in her birth date. Below that, we have the text message confirmation code that will be filled in based on what the client texts back after they are sent the text reminder message. Now, for the scope of this tutorial, we aren't going to cover text message reminders, but please watch the text reminders video in the scheduler section for more information on setting up and sending text reminders for appointments. Okay, so the last thing I can do here is select a resource. Now, just a quick note, if your center heavily uses resources, then it's probably best for you to book your appointments through the resource view, and we'll review that in just a few minutes, but you can also select the resources right here. To add a resource to this appointment form, simply click on the Resources button and the resource dialog opens. Since this is a 10 o'clock appointment, I'm going to go ahead and select that I want to book the ultrasound room at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to reserve consultant room number 1 at 10 o'clock also, because I want my client to be able to go into that room once her ultrasound is over so she can visit with a client advocate. Okay, so with those two resources selected, I'll click Apply, and the resources are added right here. Now, if your center doesn't use resources, you can just skip this step and leave the resources section blank. Next, we have the check-in status, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. For now, we're going to go ahead and leave that blank, and that's it. To save the appointment, I'll simply click Save and Close. And that's it. Our appointment has been created, and you can see that it's displayed right here in the 10 to 11 o'clock time slot. You can see that the client's name is here, and you can see that she's not checked in. This color here corresponds to the appointment category. If I move my mouse over the colored block, you can see that this is an ultrasound appointment. Also notice the bell with the 0 right here. This shows me that no text reminders have been sent for this appointment, and again, we'll cover text reminders in a subsequent video. Also notice this bubble right here. If I move my mouse over that, you can see the comments that we entered in. If I needed to edit the appointment for some reason, all I have to do is click on the appointment and the appointment form opens. I can make any changes that I need, and then I would just click Save and Close. Okay, so now that we've booked an appointment in the day view of the scheduler, let's move over to the list view and take a look at how this same appointment looks in the list view. To do that, I can click on this Display as List checkbox, or I can click on the week view or month view icons. I'm going to go ahead and click on the week view, and you can see the appointment right here. Notice I can see a lot of information about the appointment in list view. Again, if I hover my mouse over the comment bubble, I can see the comments. I can also see the time, the client's name, the check-in status, the staff or volunteer assigned to the appointment, the category, and then we have this information that's specific to text reminders, and this column right here that shows me the status of the client's mobile intake forms. Mobile intake is covered in another set of videos, so please watch those videos if you want to learn more about mobile intake. Okay, now if you need to edit anything on this appointment form, simply click on the Edit button right here. Make any changes you need to. I'll just go ahead and change the volunteer assigned to this appointment, and then to save, click Save and Close. Now I also want to show you how to add a new appointment in list view. So to do that, simply click to open the task pane and then click on the New Appointment button from the task pane. The appointment form will open. Notice when booking an appointment from the list view that the time will default to the first available time of the day based on what you set up in the administration section for this location's office hours. So if you're booking from the list view, because you aren't clicking on a specific time slot, you'll need to be sure and select the correct time. Then you can fill out the form just like we did in the previous example. So let's go ahead and quickly fill this out. We'll say that this is for an existing client named Kendra Adams. I'm going to go ahead and type in a few letters of her last name, and then I'll select her file right here. Notice that her name was auto-filled right here in the subject line, as well as her phone number, the client consents to text reminders field, and her date of birth. These fields were all auto-filled based on the information in her client file. So let's say that Kendra wants to come in for prayer on Wednesday, July 22nd at 10 a.m. I'll go ahead and select that here. Then I'll select the staff or volunteer, and I'll select prayer support as the category. I'll leave the rest of the form as is, and I'll click Save and Close. And that's it. I'll scroll down and you can see her appointment was added right here. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to add an appointment from the resource view. So I'll click here on the resource view icon. Now, because the resource view allows you to see all your available resource time slots and it will prevent you from double booking a resource, we recommend booking appointments from this view if you're a center that heavily uses resources. If you aren't sure what resources are, or if you need more information on setting up resources and their time slots, please watch the Scheduler Setup Part 2 video. That video will walk you through everything you need to know to get up and running with resources. Since our resources are already set up, let's go ahead and book an appointment. First, notice you can cross-reference the colors across the top with their resources right here. You can also click here to add the labels if you prefer. So looking across the top, you can see that we have Consultant Room 1, Consultant Room 2, Spanish Speaking Room, and Ultrasound Room number 1. Now, any place that you see a colored block down here means that we have an available time slot. So let's walk through an example to learn how to book appointments from this view. Let's say that an example client named Nicole Bird called and wants to come in for an ultrasound appointment. You can see that we're seeing ultrasound patients at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Let's say that Nicole wants to take the 11 o'clock ultrasound appointment. To book the appointment, I'll click in the colored area and the appointment form will open. Notice that since I booked from the resource view, not only is my time filled out, it says 11 to 12, but my resource is also filled out. So all I need to do from this view is finish filling out the rest of the appointment form like we did in the last example. The first thing that I'll do is select her client file. And remember, if I needed to add a new client file, I could click the ellipsis button right here. Once selected, her first and last name are populated in the subject section. Next, I'll select the staff or volunteer who's going to be assigned to this appointment, and then I'll select ultrasound as the category. I'll leave this checked that this is a client appointment and that it was scheduled as opposed to walk-in. Okay, right here I'll enter in a comment and I'll just enter in her last menstrual period. Next, you can see the mobile phone number that was again auto-filled based on what was entered in her client file, as well as her client consents to text reminders field and her date of birth. Now let's say that I also wanted to book a counseling room so a volunteer can talk with Nicole after her ultrasound like we did in the last example. To do that, I'll click on the resources button. I'll select this consultant room number 2 at 11 o'clock and then I'll click apply. It's added to the appointment right here. Okay, so the last thing I'll do is click Save and Close, and that's it. Our appointment has been created. Notice that our time slot here on Wednesday has been grayed out, and if I hover over it, it says Nicole Bird used at 11 o'clock a.m., which means that the Wednesday 11 o'clock ultrasound resource is no longer available. You can also see that the 11 o'clock consultant room is also booked. Now, if I need to make any changes to Nicole's appointment, all I need to do is click on one of these resource time slots that's reserved for this appointment, and the appointment form will open. After making changes, simply click Save and Close, and that's it. Okay, so those are the different ways that you can book appointments from the day, list, and resource views of the scheduler. Now that we've learned how to book appointments, let's talk about checking in appointments. Now, it's very important for statistical purpose to status all of your appointments. You can select a status as show, no show, rescheduled, or canceled. So let's go ahead and do that now. To check in or status an appointment, all you need to do is open the appointment form. You can do this from any of the different views, but the view that we recommend checking your appointments in from is one of the list views. The list view gives you a good at-a-glance view of appointments for the day. It also shows you the appointment's reminder status and where they are in the mobile intake process. This is a great view for your receptionist to keep open during the day while she's checking in clients. To get there, I'll simply click on either the day, week, or month view icons right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the week view, and again I'm going to click here to close my task pane so I have more viewable space. Let's go ahead and check in the appointment we created earlier for Tori Green. To do that, I'll click on the edit link next to her appointment and the appointment form will open. The client check-in section is right here, and again notice that I can set the status of an appointment to show, no show, rescheduled, or canceled. For our example, I'm going to go ahead and select show. Now please note that you can't set the status of an appointment to show without having an associated client file. Remember that when we created this appointment, we didn't create a client file because we wanted to wait until she showed up for her appointment, so we will need to go ahead and create that now. To do that, I'll click on the ellipsis button and notice that her name, birth date, phone number, and text flag are all pulled over for us. This is a great time saver because I don't have to re-enter this information. Now I'm not going to fill out the rest of this right now, so I'll just click Save and Close, and with her client file selected, I'll click Save and Close on the appointment form, and that's it. You can see that Tori's appointment has been changed from not checked in to show. Now let's also go ahead and check in this appointment right here for Nicole Bird. Let's say that Nicole didn't show up for her appointment. To status her, I'll simply select No Show, and then I'll go ahead and click Save and Close, and that's it. We've successfully checked in both of these clients. Now when I run my appointment statistics, not only will I be able to see how many appointments I had for this month and the different categories, but I can also see the different check-in statuses. Okay, well that's about it for scheduling and checking in appointments. If you have any questions, please click on the Help tab and then on the Scheduling and Checking in Appointments page under the Scheduler booklet. Thanks for your time.